What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, it is that time. Wait, not again. It's the first time. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Know-it-all.
Hi!
So we got up early this morning. She wanted to watch Star Wars with me, and we're going to do exactly that. We're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new Disney Plus series based in the Star Wars universe that continues I don't know if it continues as much as tells us what we missed. Anyways, all that and more. Stick around for Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi Episodes 1 and 2, appropriately titled, and helpfully so, Parts 1 and 2. Oh my goodness, the show! So I was really waiting a long time for this thing. I really felt like only because, so it's funny, one of the reasons why I have Mrs. Know-It-All on here today is Star Wars has always been much more her jam. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not mine. I love Star Wars. I did Mandalorian and Boba Fett reviews. They're on the channel. Feel free to go look at them. Matter of fact, I'll put them up in a little title card right up here. And so it's one of those things that, you know, it's a different kind of sci-fi. It isn't Star Trek, which is my jam, but it's fantasy Star Trek, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always loved that. I loved the palate cleansing aspect. If there's people who try to sit here and say, you can only be fans of one thing, Star Wars or Star Trek, my feeling's always been,
no.
Seriously? Yeah, no, exactly. So, all right, man, let's get into it. So the episode... it's going to be a little different. Normally, I would do a quote-unquote full-blown recap, step-by-step. There'll be a little bit of that, but really, we're just going to talk. We got up, we watched the thing, had some coffee. I got to use my lightsaber mug, which clearly my coffee has cooled down because the lightsabers are now off. But when they're all lit up, it's fresh and hot, so I'll try to get that recorded sometime soon. Yeah.
Next time.
But, yeah, man, so this whole thing, I feel like people were worried. Let's start with what everyone's been talking about, okay? Which is, are they going to ruin it? How do you fit another adventure in Obi-Wan's life?
I like where it picks up.
I do too.
Where his story picks up, because we don't know much about him for the most part.
No, pretty much right after we saw him in episode 3, at the end of episode 3, so Revenge of the Sith, we see them on board the Organa ship, the Alderaanian ship, the same one that you later see in A New Hope, which is where they've delivered the baby Leia, and he says, I will take him to his family, I'll take Luke, the boy, to his relatives on Tatooine. And so that's literally where you start that part. Now, it is not actually where the whole show starts.
Right.
Funny enough, as I'm used to saying, the show begins with, we see a Younglings, Hermit, the whole bit, training in a room with an instructor, and the instructor's doing some cool little judo-looking moves and training, kind of, totally. And then all of a sudden, the doors open, and clone troopers come in and start shooting. So we're like, oh my gosh, Order 66, and then you get to see this really awesome rescue, because she's trying to lead them, this Jedi's trying to lead the Younglings through the thing, and ultimately she does a passable job getting them to this one ramp, and that's where she finally falls. And then the kids are like, what do we do now? And there's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're like, well, we need to run, and they just run. And that's where you're left. But even before that, I really liked, and you did mention that you liked it too, the that build that like previously. Yeah,
because when was the last time we all sat down and watched?
Sure.
Watched the prequel. I mean, we it's been a minute since I have. I'll tell you that much.
No,
so this was good. I'm glad I was able to get this little bit of a
I think the storyteller's
perspective too, because it was the previously on part was more Obi-Wan. It had nothing really. It was about those flashbacks were all Obi-Wan, which
Agreed.
I liked.
No, totally. And I think it was really so the one thing that I think it came over from Marvel is the concept that every comic book or every story or every movie is someone's first. So, for instance, there are people who, I saw the original trilogy, so episodes 4, 5, and 6, way before the prequels ever came out. Right. The prequels came out, a lot of people hated them. Now they're kind of rewriting history and romanticizing them. I think they're fine, storytelling-wise. I think you can always skip one if there's an order to be talked about. But at the end of the day, we, like you said, who has that setup? So they've really taken a page out of Marvel and said, okay, let's assume this is someone's first time sitting down to Star Wars. So right now, as we're recording this, Star Wars Celebration is in full swing, and they're making a lot of different announcements about all the different series and things that are coming out. And all of it's super exciting. One of the other things that came out was that Star Wars recently, it was an article, and I wish I should have saved the clip so that I could put it on screen. Let me see if I can find it. Star Wars has basically said, I say Star Wars, Disney has essentially said, and Kathleen Kennedy and those like, the future of Star Wars is most likely serialized, meaning it's in series form. That makes sense. I mean,
there are so many characters that they can build a series on.
Oh, sure, and tell us new stories about.
And tell new stories, and this, and because there's so much time gap actually in between each movie that everything just seems to fit when they do the series, and they should keep doing it. I like that they're doing it.
No, totally. And I feel like you get to tell more of those stories and more of those things. Don't get me wrong, I'm positive, because they've already said that Taika Waititi's getting a Star Wars film. The Rian Johnson's trilogy is supposed to still be happening, technically, though it's kind of in based on my history in the film and television industry, I believe it's in limbo. By limbo, it means either he got busy with all of his Knives Out Netflix stuff, though my understanding is Netflix is actually thinking about rethinking some of that stuff. Anyway, but he got busy, and so, but Kathleen Kennedy recently said, same article in fact, oh yeah, no, that's still happening. It's just currently, they're in pre-production or some form of production, whatever. Anyway, so back to the episode. So then after that quick opening, which I thought was great, very well placed, we then jump into the actual episode, and you get to see
10 years later.
That's it.
Like, okay.
And instead of going to and again, for a guy named Obi-Wan who doesn't really show up in his own show until much later, but that's okay. It's okay.
It needed to be that way, though.
No, totally. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I still don't let me forget the clone trooper. Anyway.
Yes.
And you get to see him, and you finally get to understand a little bit about what he's going through. A lot of people were worried that the show would almost try to do what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi, which is have sort of Obi-Wan dejected and despondent.
Right.
All of which I'm down for. Did you not think when Obi-Wan was like, when he was like, Master Qui-Gon, I could totally use your help, whatever. Like he's talking to an empty room. Did you not think that you were going to suddenly see the ghost of Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon, yeah. I was going to say, yeah, and all of a sudden that blue film, yeah.
That would have been so dope. That would have been, and then you hear, because they even showed him, they leaned really heavy into Qui-Gon in that opening flashback thing that previously on.
I think we're gonna get
before it's over.
Before it's over, yeah.
So what are some things you liked about the show, and then as we kind of continue, I'm just curious, like what jumped out at you? And it's okay, jump around.
I think one of the things that I kept saying over and over again is how they wrote 10-year-old Leia.
Yeah.
She's a pistol then, just like she was a pistol.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, there was an interrogation scene actually at one point. There's this guy, he's talking to 10-year-old Leia who's strapped in a little chair, and
dude, they strapped her up like she's dangerous.
Yeah, right. But she talks to him like like Leia would talk to Vader.
Right? Or as some people would
later
say,
on.
She talks to him like he's small.
Yeah.
This is a grown man who has kidnapped her, like you said, and she strapped her to a chair like she's a horrible girl. She's going to fight him off. And she talks to him like she's all, what does she say? My dad's coming, my father's coming, and he's going to send an army.
Yeah, he's going to send an army.
But you know why I like that phrase? He's going to send an army. What if you remember in the prequels, one of the things they said was a single Jedi is worth an entire army. And then later on, Qui-Gon, it was episode 1.
Okay.
And Qui-Gon says, I wish that were true, but you know what I mean? But my point is, like, that's still the way it's, like, she said it. I don't think she knew or meant that knew the Jedi was coming, but I feel like that's still the sentiment. Mm-hmm. And so it works real that her father's like, who can I send? Because I guarantee you, Bail Organa was thinking, I need to send an army, and his wife's like, you better call Obi-Wan. like his wife
you
was
can on the phone right now.
For real, you know his number. You call him. You know, I'm like, oh, anyway, but yeah, man. Yeah, she was great. Mm-hmm. I was very, and I mentioned this to you so episodes 1 and 2 are actually 2 separate episodes. They posted both episodes are up. So it isn't like one solid 2-hour thing. I think it could have been. Yes, They ended episode 1 fine. The end of episode 1 ends great. But I feel like you could have literally just bumped them together, done the Star Wars wipe, and now you're into the next episode. And leave them as a 2-hour like premiere type thing. Premiere. Really good. I was so surprised because I thought it was going to be, and it's how they sold it. You see desert and you see mountains and you see him. So I literally was like, oh, this is the Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to tiptoe around Luke while protecting him and doing stuff.
Yeah, no, we get to see I had that aha moment, and I know it sounds really funny, go ahead. But when Leia is giving the information, and the hologram happens of her talking to R2.
Oh, in episode 1. And I'm sorry, episode 4, A New Hope. Yeah.
And I'm like,
help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And it never really crossed my mind, like, how does she even know Obi-Wan? Sure. and I got that answer. Like, I never asked it in my head. It wasn't until I got an answer that I'm like, oh, that's a really great question.
Well, and I think that falls into line with what a lot of the fandom is always asking, like, because remember, I'm from Star Trek world, okay? Trust me, we have canon arguments all the time. But Star Wars gets real visceral with their canon arguments and like, oh, this is terrible and this is that. Like, you know, believe me, everyone thought the prequels were the end of Star Wars. Everyone has also thought the sequels are the end of Star Wars. Trust me, none of this stuff's killing anything. Things happen. You have bad days. Stories ebb and flow. And so I think that they're working all of these details into the cracks, and I like it. There's nothing about her hologram message that implies that, oh, you don't recognize me, remember me, this and that. Here's the thing. Anyone who's going to sit here, because there's going to be a ton of them out there who are going to sit here and troll and be like, oh, well, she doesn't know him. She says she's got to remind him, you served my father during the Clone Wars, which clearly means she's never met him. And I'm like, no.
That's just a greeting.
That's an assumption on your part.
Yeah, and I also think that it's just like, you served my father in the Clone Wars. That's more of a greeting. She's a princess, and she's undercover.
She expresses she's 10 years old. That implies there's about 10-ish more years. Possibly even, I don't think she's 30 in Star Wars. No, I think she's probably in her early 20s. Yeah. Probably 24 at the oldest. Sure. And so that means 14 years in the future-ish. Now, I'm sure I can go find it. So some Star Wars fans like, go to the Wikipedia and it'll tell you exactly her age in A New Hope. Whatever. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to make some assumptions at the moment.
Sure. And
so I feel like there's a lot of life that young people have. There's people that Baby Know-It-All knows, and who she grew up with, technically, who she hasn't seen in forever. And so she remembers them somewhat.
Right.
Okay, now mind you, I do think when you make a massive adventure out of it, like they're doing with the series, you then kind of go, okay, obviously there's a big place in her heart. But at the same time, I don't think that there's any, there's nothing in her original hologram message that implies to me that they were like shocked.
Yeah.
That she's shocked or doesn't know him in the future. And if anything, she's just kind of reminding him, hey, remember you served my father in the Clone Wars? Yeah, well, he needs you again. And it's because she's the one making the call, not her dad.
Right.
So I think that's a huge point. Loved seeing brother as Bail Organa. I thought that was awesome.
Jimmy Smits.
Yeah, man. Jimmy Smits from, with the LA Law? No, not LA Law.
Law and Order.
Law and Order. One of those. He's doing good, man.
Oh,
he looks
yeah.
great. They're doing, in general, though, I'm a big fan of the whole thing. I think they did a really good job casting. And like you said, the little girl's channeling Leia's attitude and personality.
Oh, yeah. Like, you can totally see how this little girl ends up being her.
Also, I like the fact that everyone was worried, he's going to be a recluse and he's going to be this and that. Like, they're trying to associate him with Luke in the future, who's a hermit.
Right.
But the truth is, he is kind of a hermit, but he's also not. They have this one encounter early on with that Jedi in hiding,
right?
When the Inquisitors
show up, yeah.
And that's where we meet Reva. Reva's really awesome. Moses Ingram plays her. Reva's a cool character, and I feel like there's deeper story to her.
Yeah.
What do you think? You actually made you made some really astute observations that I agree with when it comes to Reva.
Well, and it was funny because I said two different things at two different times. I said it wouldn't surprise me if Reva and Obi-Wan end up having to pair up. And actually so yeah, she gets that aha moment, like we've seen all those things, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Sure, redemption arcs are very Star Wars.
But I learned she was a Jedi.
Yeah.
And then as they were talking, like the Inquisitors were Jedis, and they turned on their own.
Yeah, a lot of them were either Younglings or they were former Padawans or something. The people who were training. So there's
because she actually is very young, she could easily have been under Obi-Wan or knew well, she would have known him. So.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and but that's her whole thing.
Right,
she's hardcore. So she follows Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan gets a call from Bail Organa. Bail Organa's like, "You got to help." He's like, "No, go find someone else." I'm glad they didn't go much further with the recluse thing until later. So like the first episode, it was pretty much done. So he meets this kid who Reva and the Inquisitors are chasing because he overhears about some Jedi whatever.
Right.
So of course he tracks him down, and when he tracks him down, he's like, dude's like, Master Kenobi, what are you doing? What blah blah blah? We got to help this and that. He's like, dude, do yourself a favor. You take this lightsaber and you go out into the desert, middle of the desert, and bury it. He's like, the Jedi Order is dead. Now, even though he says that, he still has a scene with Owen where he gets to Owen Lars, played by Joel Edgerton, by the way, who reprises his role from the prequels. He's like, the boy, when he at a certain age, has to be trained. So Obi-Wan hasn't veered too far off course. He's a little, I guess fear has crept in. He's watched them get wiped out. You know, so it's an interesting dichotomy between, somewhere between like commitment or duty and some whatnot, and his desire for revenge or whatever else. He's still keeping, no, we're not going to behave like Jedi anymore. It's okay, this and that. But yes, I have to be here for the kid when he grows up. You know what I mean? Like he's still, it's a dual life.
Right.
But he doesn't live there too long. This first episode.
No, it looks like he just tries to have a much normal life as possible until then.
Yeah, and so, or as normal as he can, because he works at a meat pack, the equivalent of a Tatooine meat packing plant. It's a location they show with these giant like rib cage thing. I'm thinking it might have been. It might have been one of those worms from the sandworm guys.
Yeah,
possibly or a desert dragon, like they call them. Yeah, it could totally be that. And he works there every night. He slices off a little piece for himself for dinner.
To feed his almost camel.
Yeah, totally. His not quite whatever that thing is. CGI camel, you called it.
Right.
Kumail Nanjiani plays a really cool character. So Obi-Wan finally does set off to go in search of, because they managed to track the ship. He ends up on another planet. And while there, he hears of a Jedi who helps people. And he finds Kumail Nanjiani's character. We don't really know much about him.
No, not
He's a guy
now.
posing as a Jedi. And, but this awesome turn, once he... because obviously Reva tracks Obi-Wan, whatever, the Inquisitors. So the Inquisitors they're at odds. The way they make it sound, any of you who watch Clone Wars or any of that stuff, or Rebels, rather, Star Wars Rebels, you're very familiar with the Inquisitors. I'm only familiar with the Inquisitors from the Star Wars role-playing game that I used to play a long time ago, the D21. the 1,4-D20. And the thing, so they're all fighting, and she puts a bounty on his head. Mm-hmm. So his picture is suddenly everywhere.
And it's just not like she's obsessed. It's like she has a serious, it's personal with her.
Yeah, I feel like there's way more to this than just advance. So the reason I have a lot of people will be like, oh, she just wants to, impress Vader or become better placed. And I'm like, that feels really hollow. And in fact, that's what all the Inquisitors think.
Like, right, it's for impression because she's human.
Yeah, the Grand High Inquisitor is like, your ambition is getting dangerous and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a deeper thing going on here. I think we may find that she actually was... Okay, let's make a couple quick predictions.
Okay.
I think we're going to find out that Reva was a youngling. Mm-hmm. I think maybe she might have been... She knows Anakin Skywalker is Vader. And in fact, we get that moment where Obi-Wan finds that out.
And he sold it great.
It messes with his head so hard. And he doesn't... He still, at no point, ignite. He has his lightsaber. He does not ignite his lightsaber in the first 2 episodes. Right. So he's still fighting his nature in that he wants to, because he knows they're coming down hard, killing everybody. So he's trying, and he realizes his life is not worth that. His life is for the kid. His life is for Luke.
Right.
At this point. And yeah, man. Also, Leia with the reading people.
Yeah. I almost feel like they leaned a little bit into she already is showing signs of having the Force, because we do learn.
Well, so we
learn way later on.
There's clearly 2 lives, and I get it, and I've thought about that a lot. Luke is living the life of disparity, the life of less, the life of very minimal things, and that is serving the purpose of him as a Jedi one day. Like, the idea is because that's how Jedi are supposed to live meager lives. The Force gives them meaning, purpose. Provides whatever they need in the however format. So he's living that life. Leia's growing up because, remember, as far as Luke, he's been told Luke is the future, it's a bias, but who cares? My point is, Leia is off learning how to be a politician, learning how to be a leader, having all of the best and worst traits that Padme had. Okay, and at one point, I think even Obi-Wan even says, he's like, he's like, why are you looking at me like that? He's like, you remind me of someone I used to know. She was a strong person, and this and that, and you're like, he's talking about Padme. So sad. But then, so then you get this really cool interaction between them. And you understand she's grown up with privilege. I don't mean I'm not like white privilege. I mean, she's grown up as royalty. Literally in a palace. But, so there's something at war in her heart. Like, she wants to do stuff and wants to be a certain way. But she's raised, here's the thing. She's raised to, what do politicians do? They assess things. They look, understanding, talking to people, negotiating. Those skills, I believe, laterally translate into how else. Okay, it's like, you need to look, Leah, and understand. No, this isn't the thing. I'm just saying, envision how, you need to understand when you're looking at somebody, what's their intent? You want to try, I bet you even the phrases, even you want to look inside them and this and that. Right. And little by little, you're doing this mental thing, not realizing behind your mind, you got the Force reaching out and going, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And so you get stuck with it. And so I feel like that has been a type of training. That's why I think she's able to, because
I see that.
She's not using the Force.
No.
She's assessing like she would normally do it. And she doesn't know where that assessment comes from. So she's like, you think if you don't say anything that you're going to blah, blah, blah. And that takes me to a moment that really did take me out of it briefly.
I was going to say, we're going to talk about what the part where she doubted. Obi-Wan, in a moment of personal doubt, not about the situation, lets his guard down, and she basically peeps inside him. And she's like, oh, you think that if you don't say anything, you're going to hide stuff, but not saying anything's making it even more clear there's something that you're hiding. Right. And so she's like, my father didn't say. She has this weird, breakdown.
It just, it's a flip in logic that for me felt like lazy writing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't show me this like self-assured girl who reads into things correctly most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then the one time she doesn't read into it, it's an extraordinarily valuable reason, like this moment. Bro, you don't get to set her up and then suddenly
to be brilliant.
Like, but she's wrong. And you're like, I mean, to me, it was contrived tension that didn't need to be contrived. So anyway, yeah, man. So what else? What did you you like? Is there something you didn't like?
I can't say that there was something that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think I a lot of it was I was just so amazed and excited about how they portrayed 10-year-old Leia.
Sure. There's something much more cinematic about this than everything else has been so far. By everything else, I mean than Mandalorian, than Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, Book of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. Those were also. There's something slightly more. This didn't feel like a Disney Plus show. It feels like a really long movie. Like I feel like they filmed it with cinematic intention.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's wonderful set pieces in Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, but I feel like this one went a slightly different route, and I liked it. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, man, there you go. Now you know. If knowing is half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. So, what is your know-it-all index score? I'll give you mine for the first 2 episodes together combined.
Yeah, I'll combine together.
Combined know-it-all index for this. What's yours?
I'm gonna go with an 8.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 8. I liked it. I liked it. I was entertained. I liked what they did with Leia. Yeah, I think can't wait to see where it's going.
Agreed.
I can't wait to see where it's going.
I'm gonna give it. We're gonna go. So when it started, I was leaning toward a 6, mainly because I was like, guys, really, how long are you gonna take here to get anywhere? Like action wise, give me something to latch on to, other than the fact that I'm seeing Obi-Wan for the first time again in a long time. But then it creeped as the story began, as I started seeing what they were going, it creeping up. I would also say I landed at 8 for now. I think a lot of that has to do with how the ending hit. So I didn't cover this part, but I'm going to real quick right now. Mm-hmm. The fact that in that final moment of the episode, because remember, he just learned that Anakin is Vader, and Anakin's alive. He thought Anakin was dead and died on Mustafar.
Right.
He does not know. And that Vader was just another person like the Inquisitors or anybody else who just rose up. He doesn't know that Vader is Anakin. And so I feel like that's a big revelation for him. And it shocks him so much that I think inadvertently he reached out and woke up Anakin. So you see, what do you get? The eyes open and the back to tank. And he's got the thing and you hear... And I'm like, oh!
Yeah.
Oh! I'm excited to see Hayden Christensen back as Vader. I think he's going to do a really good job. I think we're going to get flashbacks in a way that I'm okay and here for. So, but yeah, man, that was awesome.
I also got to say, I think Obi-Wan looked terrified at one point too, when it set in after he thought he was dead. So yeah, that I like the way the first episode would have, if we did it separately, would have been a lot lower. So, but yeah, you're right. The second episode definitely pulled it through.
Yeah. So okay. So I feel like overall the whole thing. Yeah. I'm excited. I think they're going to do good stuff, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be honest. The show's already broken my thoughts as to what it's going to end up being, only because I was worried what we got in the first 2 episodes was literally going to be almost the entire season.
Really?
I didn't think we'd see Boo 1 of Vader until about episode 3, 4, and we still may not as a character.
Yeah.
But I think there's every possibility that we're going to get him sooner. They're moving at a quicker clip and pace than I thought they would, which tells me that for 6 episodes, they have a tight story, packed with stuff that they want to tell.
It's only 6 episodes, you said?
I'm down 6 episodes. Okay. That's it. It's a tight, limited series. I don't believe we'll get a season 2. I think you can only squeeze so much out of his time on Tatooine and this thing. And so, yeah, man. So there you go, man. I hope we leave us a comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about having Mrs. Know-It-All on these with me. Yeah, man. I look forward to it, and we'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.